Welcome to This Week in Virginia, and a very special welcome to Senator Joe Morrissey, representing the 16th District, which includes all of Petersburg, Hopewell, and then parts of Chesterfield, Prince George, Dinwiddie, and the city of Richmond. Senator Morrissey has a degree from UVA, and undergraduate, and then a graduate degree in law, a JD from Georgetown University, and then the one that intrigues me the most, you got over to Ireland, to Trinity College in Dublin, and got a master's in law. That must have been exciting to be there with a name like Morrissey. To be in Ireland had to be great. So we really appreciate your being on. And I guess before we start talking about the upcoming session, tell us a little bit about that experience in Ireland.
I'm happy to do that, David. And first of all, it's great to be on your show This Week in Virginia. You've been doing This Week in Richmond for over a decade. I always enjoyed appearing on your show. It's an honor to do that, and thanks for having me back again. You're right, I don't get a chance to talk about it that much because I'm not often asked, so thank you for asking. I got a master's in law at Trinity College in Ireland. It's one of the oldest universities in the world at 400 years.
Wow.
Not a lot of people get masters in law. I did. I enjoyed it. I also taught law school over in Ireland, and that was fascinating. And, you know, David, the bottom line is when you live in a different country and you look at America from outside of its shores or borders, you get an interesting and a different perspective. So that was one thing about it. Plus, you're right, with an Irish name like Morrissey, and my great-grandparents are descendants from County Cork and Killarney in Ireland. Yeah, it was great to be back over here. I told my 9-year-old daughter that I was going to take her to Ireland this Christmas, but because of the pandemic, we've had to table that. But you know, I'll bring them over and I'll encourage them to study abroad when they're in college and grad school for the most important reason, so I can go over and visit them.
That would be great. Well, Senator Morrissey, you served almost a decade in the House of Delegates, starting back in 2008, and then elected to the Senate, one of 5 new senators elected who began serving in 2020. We're having a conversation here on December 1, and the session starts next month. So while we could talk about Ireland, and that would be an interesting show in and of itself, really interested in your talking about some of the issues that you see coming up and being dealt with in the 22 session, and maybe even starting with something that's already in the news. We're not breaking it on this show. You've already been out there talking about needing to do something about some tax relief, I believe you were calling it.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to talk about the casino that I want to bring to Petersburg.
Oh,
we'll
yes.
talk about that too. But sure, I've been in the Senate now for 2 years. It feels longer than that. And I say that respectfully because, I think we've really gotten a lot done. I'm very passionate about criminal justice reform and also very passionate about our environment. And I am going to support those 2 measures all day long, every time I have an opportunity. With regard to the 2022 session, let me just begin by saying this. There's a little different parameter going in. The House of Delegates is now controlled, albeit by a slim margin, by Republicans. The Senate still is controlled, again, by a very razor-thin margin, 21-19 by the Democrats. I happen to be a Democratic senator, but I'm also a Democratic senator that reaches frequently across the party, the aisle to the other side. I mean, I'm looking now out into the chamber and I'm seeing Bill Stanley and Richard Stewart and Siobhan Donovan, just Republicans that I think are very statesmanlike in their approach, measured. I love working with them. Todd Pulliam, another one. And I'm going to continue to do that. And I'm very mindful now that we have a Republican lieutenant governor. And I said in the paper the other day on the front page, my fidelity is to the Commonwealth of Virginia, not to the party. And I'm not saying that with any degree of braggadocio, but that's how I feel, that's how I vote, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. I see lots of, and so that leads into the tax suggestion that we need to refund some of the tax money, a tax cut. You don't hear many Democrats, David, talking about a tax cut. I did, and I am, and I will be talking about it. I want to work with my colleague on the Democratic side, Chap Peterson. We're going to have almost an $8 billion surplus when everything comes together. A lot of that money belongs to the taxpayers. I think we need to refund it to them. We can do it in different ways. A tax refund, we can do it with increasing the minimum amount of taxes in Virginia for which you pay state income tax. And right now, it is at $12,000 a year. I'd like to perhaps double it to $25,000 a year. What does that mean? It means that anybody in Virginia making $25,000 or less would pay no state income tax, period. There's no conditions or qualifications. And it means the first $25,000 of your salary, David, because you make about $1 million a year on this show, don't you?
That's a good one, Joe.
But the first $25,000 of your income, my legislative assistant's income, my income would also not be taxable. Now, that's going to shift. We've got to see what it's going to cost the Commonwealth, because you know me, I'm very prudent with taxpayers' dollars. I spend taxpayers' dollars like it's my own money. So, but I think any notion that tax cuts are only the province of the Republican Party is not accurate, because stay tuned to my legislation.
You know, maybe this will be the time that the House, majority of Republicans, as you said, a slight majority, but with Democrats who have been talking and working some for the last several years, saying we need to revise the tax code in Virginia, because someone making $13,000, as you said, just over that $12,000, pays at the same percentage as someone making a much larger amount, and that it's nothing graduated in our.
Well, you know, you touched on something that's really important, David. You know, when you have close numbers in the General Assembly in both the House and the Senate, it's forcing people to compromise. That's a good thing. I actually think that you get better representation when you have a district that is, I'll call it on the bubble. It could go R or D in any given election. It forces you to reach over to the other side and say, hey, where can we find some common ground? And I think that's actually one of the benefits now of closely divided Senate and House. And another thing, the House that's now controlled by Republicans, they realize that they won several seats by razor thin margins. Two of them around 100 votes out of tens of thousands cast. That's not a mandate, other than a mandate maybe to reach over to the other side. So that's a good thing. We'll see. I know the governor, I had breakfast with him yesterday. He still wants to pursue his grocery tax cut, and it may be warranted in some measure, okay? The localities are dependent, many of them are dependent upon that grocery tax. Fairfax County raises $60 million a year because of it. So we can't do what we did with the car tax, abolish the car tax. Well, that's nice and sounds great and it gets you elected governor. But we're still dealing with the fallout from that, decade plus on. How can we make that money up to the municipalities so that they don't have to say, does it help to have a grocery tax cut and then increase your real estate taxes? I'm thinking no, probably doesn't. But I want to work with the governor. As I said to him, I don't care what party you're in. I want you to be wildly successful. Because if you are wildly successful, then that means Virginia benefits.
You know, Senator, something that also relates to money in a way, you've been a part of a study looking at the staffing levels and employment conditions and compensation at the Virginia Department of Corrections. See that on the General Assembly website, one of the senators on that study. Do you see anything possibly coming in the upcoming session that will help address those conditions and even the salaries of the guards and of the people?
Thank you. That's a great question, David. Not only is it possible, it's probable that we will increase the salaries for DOC entry-level positions from 35 or 34,000 to 42,000. I mean, that's an $8,000 increase. And also approve another round of bonuses for those Department of Corrections officials. I was part, as you said, of a Senate study that listened to many people associated with our DOC system, and we are at a crisis as far as retaining people who are currently there and hiring new folks for DOC. We cannot do it unless we increase the entry-level pay. We have done it. We gave $25 million to the state police in the form of bonuses. We gave $3,000 bonuses to almost every deputy in the state. But almost across the board, law enforcement agencies are looking for for people to come in. Although DOC isn't a law enforcement body, you get the idea. In the Virginia State Police, they're down 1,200 employees. 1,200.
Wow.
Deputy sheriffs throughout the entire state, down thousands of deputy sheriffs. DOC, local police departments are down. University campuses are down, and we've got to do what we can to assist them. Which is another. Also, as I say that, let me not hear any talk about Democrats in charge of defunding the police. I've spent the last 6 months working with Republicans and my colleagues, Democratic colleagues, working to increase bonuses and pay for our police and not defund.
Well, let's switch over a little bit. And you have your own show, your radio show, Fighting Joe Morrissey, your podcast. You have your ears not just to the ground. You have your ears to the people in your district and other people who contact you. Are you? You mentioned casino earlier. You might want to go to that. But are you hearing from people on your show about Senator Morrissey? You all should be doing X or Y or Z. Are you getting?
Yeah, I thought you were going to go and take a different track at first when you talked about hosting the Fighting Joe Morrissey show, which is a 1-hour show that's simultaneously broadcast in Central Virginia on 4 different radio stations, and we have a large swath in Central Virginia. But I have my ear to the ground. There's some political pundits or maybe talk show hosts that they're back in their office and this is the theory. For example, how can Joe Morrissey possibly win a Senate seat against Roz Dance in Petersburg? Oh, that can't happen because that's the theory going on. Joe's got this baggage and scandal, involving his wife, blah, 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 but they're not on the ground listening to it. And so when you end up winning Petersburg, the home of my opponent for 30 years, 30-year political with no scandal, and I beat her 72 to 28, the people say, well, what about what all the pundits said? Because, David, they don't have their ear to the ground.
Right.
They're not touching people, which is why on my show, the statewide election returns was no surprise. 5 Ds that were defeated in the House of Delegates. No surprise if you're listening and touching those people on the ground, as I was and as I did and as I predicted. Now, so with regard to what they're saying right now, let me segue into a casino in Petersburg. Yeah, baby, they want it. They want what Richmond's loss and voting against the casino, I hope, will be Petersburg's gain. Petersburg isn't just an iconic Virginia city. It's an iconic American city. It was nearly bankrupt several years ago, but it's now back in solid in the solid black position. This, I don't want to say casino, I want to talk about entertainment, venue would be huge. A hotel, 4-star restaurants, a music venue, green space, infrastructure improvements that extend beyond the casino into the city, job opportunities for 1,500 people, average salary 55 to 60 grand. People are going to gamble, David. They're going to gamble somewhere. We gave out 5 casino licenses. 4 of the cities voted overwhelmingly for it. There's going to be a 5th casino in Virginia. I want to make sure it comes to Central Virginia, and that's Petersburg. And, we want to bring gamblers in from sister states, from other parts of the Commonwealth. And when they come in, they'll see Petersburg. They'll visit Old Town. They'll visit our historic sites. They'll visit other areas in Virginia. They'll stay at the hotel. They'll spend their money. The families will move in to take jobs. Their kids will go to school there. We will improve the 6 public schools in Petersburg, rebuild a couple of them, or build a couple new ones, renovate 3 or 4 others. It's a game changer for Petersburg like nothing you've ever seen. And I want to get it done. And I'll be working through the Christmas holidays on it. And I look forward, maybe, David, to coming back and sharing with you and your large audience what progress we're making on bringing a casino to Petersburg.
Well, I look forward to getting back with you when that time comes, and it won't be long before it comes. Senator Morrissey, I've got to say that for years, going back to your time in the House, I have good friends in Verina. Some of them might be more conservative than you and I on some issues, but when you were going through a rough time, they were telling me, we stand by our delegate Joe Morrissey, because he responds when we ask for help. He responds to his constituency, and I want you to know that that's part of your legacy. You mentioned the word scandal. We aren't going there, but I think part of that legacy is that the constituent involvement that you've had both in the House of Delegates now in the Senate is one that the pundits should be writing about.
David, you're very kind to say that. I very much appreciate you saying that. Myrna and I have 4 children, 8, 6, 5, and 3.5. They're all doing great. We're very blessed. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not thankful for all that I have. And you're right. I had built my legacy on constituent service. I know this, David, that when politicians leave their office in the House of Delegates, the state Senate, the governor's mansion, the Speaker of the House, that's it. They're not going to build any monuments to you. And the next day, they're talking about the new person that's replaced you. That's just a fact of life, okay?
Right.
I get it. I leave tomorrow, David. You're going to continue. Your show continues, and you will be interviewing the next senator for the 16th district. That's the way it is. The point being, when you're there, do something, get something done. Okay. And the people that I'm a delegate, I'm a Democrat in the Senate, but I get people from the other side of the aisle or Republican constituents all the time that say, Joe, we might not agree on everything, but you fight tirelessly for all of your constituents. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And that's, at the end of the day, what will be my legacy. There will be some bills that folks may remember, probably not, that I'm very proud of, but they'll also remember you called Joe about the problem that you had with your road. He's out there next week with VDOT officials. He's writing down what they agree to do. He follows up with a letter, what they've agreed to do. And then after it's done, sends them a letter thanking them for what they did. And that's how I run the ship here. And all you got to do is talk to some of my staff, and they hear me. Why haven't we gotten this done? Why? And I'm going to continue doing that. And Dave, and everything else falls into place. It's like a football team. Get prepared, work hard, do your study of film at night, practice hard, be prepared, and good things will happen. That's the way I look at this job.
And Senator, I would say that from my experience over the few decades, that's what other members of the legislature try to do, and those who are successful and serve multiple terms usually do. But if anyone's watching this show and they're not sure they're getting that kind of service, they need to request it and to have their delegate, their senator involved. I do run into some people who, it's hard for me to believe at times, they don't know who their delegate or senator is. And I send them to the site where they can find it. But I said, you need to know. People need to know and reach out. Don't just say, well, they're up on some high pedestal and I can't reach out to them. But reach out to them. Every one of the 100 and every one of the 40 deserves constituents who will speak up to them and who will reach out to them.
Yeah, I have people all the time. People call, people from Charles City County, from Henrico, other parts of Chesterfield. They'll say, Joe Morrissey's my senator. Well, I'm not. They think that I am. But here's a tip for your listening audience. When you want something done, okay, and I don't care what it is, don't be satisfied if that state delegate, state senator says, well, that is for your city council person or your board of supervisor. No. No. Then you help me get that done. You put me in touch with that person. I've got a little trick. Can I share it with you?
Yes, please.
All right. So I'll go around and I'm campaigning, or I'm just doing my daily doings. I'm visiting churches, visiting barbershops. And if somebody has a problem, and let's say it's the sidewalk in front of their house, and they'll say, Senator, it's the sidewalk segment is 2 inches above what it is, and people will trip. What can you do? Let me tell you, this is what I'll do. Give me your address, give me your full name, give me your telephone number. I go back to my office, I find out who their city council person is, okay? And I'll write to, Dear Reva Trammell, Dear Reva, I was campaigning, or I was visiting, or I was doing something the other day, and I ran into your and my constituent, so-and-so. They have a problem with their sidewalk. I told them that you're one of the most progressive city council persons that we have, and that you'll get right on top of this. Please handle that for them. And then I'll say, and that's a copy to the constituent, please let me know if this isn't taken care of in the next, say, 2 weeks. What have I done? I've let the city council know, get your local maintenance organization to take care of it. And if it's not done, they'll call me back. I will call the city of Richmond, maintenance, to get it done. It might not, there's no such word in my vocabulary or my staff. That's not our job. I get that from my kids. I tell them to clean something up, and, well, I didn't spread the monopoly money all over the place, Daddy. Maverick did it. I said, I don't care. It's now your job. So that's the way I roll, and that way you get things done. And nothing on my children's lives, David, nothing is beneath me that I wouldn't or can't do. You call me up, David, and you're just ordinary David Bailey citizen in Petersburg, and a tree from the city common area fell on your fence. Let me tell you something. I'm on it. I know people that can get that tree off. I'm going to get down there. I'm going to see you. I'm going to talk to you. I'll take a picture of it. I am going to get that tree off your fence. And it's no such thing as, oh, this isn't my job. And that's what public servants should do. It's not just the glamour bills or the pictures with the governor. You're a servant first and foremost.
I see why you are called sometime Fighting Joe Morrissey, and that's a moniker that you can be proud. I don't know if you've done it yet, but in your career, you need to teach candidate schools for people who are considering running for office, because people need to know that it's not the title, it's not some position. It's a matter of being a servant and serving your constituency. And if you don't want to do that, then why are you running?
David, you are spot on, as my grandmother would say. This past Sunday, all four of my kids, we were down in Petersburg delivering grocery bags, school bags stuffed with school supplies to churches. And I tell them over and over again, this is why we do this. We're here to serve people, help people's lives, make them better. Because, obviously, my young kids, they know that daddy is something in the state Senate and they want to know. I make it very clear. We're there to help others. And that's it. And you know what? Eventually, if you're there just because you want to be the delegate or the senator and you don't want to do the heavy lifting, okay, then get another job. And here's something else. I've noticed this in the last 12, 14 years. Show me a candidate that campaigns hard, and I'll show you a future elected official that will serve hard. You follow me? But if you think you can just stay at home and spend $1 million on TV ads and not get out there and campaign hard, then you're not going to be an effective legislator because being an effective legislator is working. Last night, less than 24 hours ago, I was at Petersburg City Council meeting in private session. I left that and went over to the school board meeting in Chesterfield County, and then I got home about 8:30, okay? That's what you do. And if you're not willing to do that, then get another job.
Senator Morrissey, thank you so much for being on This Week in Virginia, and I do look forward to having you back on, having more conversations, and have a great December, and we'll be seeing you as the year begins. So thank you very much.
David, you're more than welcome. I look forward to seeing you when we start the 2022 General Assembly session. You've done a great job bringing the important issues to Virginians. You're a statesman, you're a gentleman, and I consider you my friend. Thank you for allowing me to participate on your show.
Thank you, sir.